Good morning, everybody. All right, we've been talking a lot about controls, and y'all have definitely been reading a lot about controls. We answered a lot of questions, and a couple days ago I told y'all we wanted to start tying these pieces together. Yesterday I gave you LM1 and LM2 of the wiring diagrams and asked you a question about it. I asked you what it was. Now we are going to wire it up and see what it does and walk through the sequence. So if you want to follow through on your LMs, remember when we wire, we always wire left to right, top to bottom. So I'm going to follow our schematic. Now this is what we will be using as our disconnect. Our power comes into this from our wall plug. So with that in mind, we will be using this as L1, and this will be our L2 side of the circuit, okay? All right, so let's wire this thing up. The first thing we have that we know, we need to go from our disconnects, obviously already wired in. So we need to come from our L1 on our disconnect, and we need to go into the left side of our thermostat. Okay, and then it shows we're going out of our thermostat into the left side of our liquid line solenoid. And then to complete the circuit on that one, it shows us to come out the other side of our solenoid and take it back to our L2. Okay? So with the first part of that, when we have power to our disconnect now and our thermostat calls, we hear the solenoid open up. Okay? So, now let's do the second part of that. And it shows that we are coming out from our disconnect, again, our L1. And we are going to take that to the left side of our low pressure control. Then we are going out of our low pressure control into our contactor coil, which left to right, top to bottom. So we're going to go on the left side, which will be this one here. Now notice, this coil is not like any of the other ones that you've ever seen where we normally have our 24 volt control coil on the side. This is a line voltage control. We actually use line power, and they are on the back part of this, and that gives us 3 switches that we can utilize. Okay, so after we go into that coil, we know we have to complete that circuit. We come out of that coil and take it back to our L2. Okay, now this should make it to where our solenoid we've called here. Now our refrigerant is open now and is now flowing, so our low pressure switch, that pressure is going to rise, and when it rises, my contactor comes into play. Okay? So let's go a step further with it. Okay, now we know once the refrigerant opens here and this closes itself because we're no longer in a low pressure, our contactor comes on, and we know that that contactor from our LM2 is supposed to bring on the condenser, fan motor, and the compressor. Okay, I am going to use this one as our compressor. This one will be our condenser fan motor. So from the diagram, once again, I'm coming from L1. I am going into load 1 on my contactor, which is the first switch. And then I know from there I'm going to put that same one is also using our first one. We have power to our contactor, now we're coming out of our contactor, and we're going to feed the left side of our compressor. And we're also going to do one more from the same feed to feed the left side of our condenser fan motor. Then it shows that we're going to bring the right side of both of these to T2, which will be our second switch on here. And then we're going to complete the right side of the condenser fan motor, taking it back to the same T2, and then our L2 we want to go to L2. Okay. Hopefully I have this all wired up right. We are going to see what it does. So, when we have this type of setup, we have our thermostat will call, solenoid engages, opens up the flow of refrigerant. Refrigerant flow makes the low pressure increase, causes the switch to close. Compressor, condenser fan motor comes on. Then, when my thermostat satisfies, I've reached the temperature that I wanted to do, my liquid line solenoid went off, which means it's closing the flow of liquid refrigerant. Notice my compressor and my condenser fan motor are still on. It is pumping down at this point. And until this low pressure switch reaches its low pressure, then it will kick out the condenser fan motor and the compressor. And then it's ready for a whole new cycle again. As soon as the thermostat calls again, we go right back through the same process. Hope this helps to clarify a little bit of it and make sense. We are going to heavily build on this on Monday. Y'all have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you back here then.